Marathons today follow a simple formula. There's a starting line and a finish line, a crowd of excited and apprehensive racers, and a clear course to follow. But the 1904 Olympic Marathon took some unexpected turns in more ways than one. The race, just the third in modern Olympic history, was part of the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair, also called the Louisiana Purchase, and was populated by an unusual cast of runners. Though some had run marathons before, others were relative novices. Some showed up barefoot, one showed up in long pants despite the heat, and all of them were expected to participate in the organizers' test, which sought to explore purposeful dehydration. From the moment the starting gun went off, a few minutes after 3 p.m. on August 30th, the race got even wilder. Preceded by horses meant to clear the road and followed by cars to monitor the race, the runners were instantly choked by swirling, dry dust. This, the heat of the Missouri day, and the lack of water stations along the route made the run a hellish challenge for the 32 runners, just 14 of whom would end up finishing the race. Indeed, the spectacle quickly became a comedy of errors. One runner was chased off the route by wild dogs, while another decided to snack on apples he found along the way, only to develop crippling stomach cramps. Though he took a nap along the side of the road to ease the pain, he ended up finishing fourth. Meanwhile, one of the runners, exhausted by the heat and the dust, decided to jump in his trainer's car, zip along the course, and run the last mile. He was quickly exposed as a cheater, although the ultimate winner would only make it across the finish line with the help of brandy, eggs, and small doses of rat poison used as a stimulant, as well as two of his trainers who practically dragged him across the last stretch. In the end, the course of the 1904 Olympic Marathon would be dubbed by an observer, quote, "the most difficult a human being was ever asked to run over," unquote. In the days that followed, there was even some serious talk about striking the marathon from the Olympic Games for good, as it was referred to as a man-killing event. This is the story of perhaps the strangest sporting event in modern history. You're listening to History Uncovered, brought to you with digital publisher All Is Interesting, where we explore the uncharted corners of the natural world and the world past. I'm All That's Interesting staff writer Kalina Fraga.
And I'm All That's Interesting staff writer Austin Harvey.
Today, we're delving into the bizarre orgy of chaos that was the 1904 Olympic Marathon.
I thought we were talking about sports, not orgies.
Yeah. Well, you'll see. I think bizarre orgies are very good for what this was. I mean, just to give some background about what this event was.
I have a question right off the bat.
Oh, yeah, bring it.
What's an Olympic?
Haha, yes. I mean, it's actually not a bad question, because at this point, the St. Louis, the Olympics there, it was only the third modern Olympics. The Olympics had happened, thousands of years ago. And in 1896, they decided to bring them back to Athens. So it was Athens, Paris, and then St. Louis. So,
wow.
Yeah. So this was the first one to be held in the United States. And it was going to be in St. Louis because something else was going on, which was even bigger than the Olympics, and that was the World's Fair. And I feel like I bring this up, if not every time we record a podcast, but pretty often. But that book by Eric Larson, Devil in the White City, which is about the Chicago World's Fair.
Yeah, that was H.H. Holmes, right?
Yes, yeah, the serial killer that's operating at the same time. I mean, it's the book is half about H.H. Holmes and half about the World Fair.
Right.
But I think he does a really great job of sort of illustrating what that was and how much work it was and just what a huge event, what a spectacle it was. And
yeah, I mean, we've had a couple things tie back to that, right? Wasn't Maud Wagner also at the World's Fair?
She was at this World's Fair in St. Louis.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So that's, a little fun fact for anyone listening is our default cover image for the show.
Right,
and,
yeah, the
our,
woman,
and
the icon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Maud Wagner. We have an episode on her. Go and listen to it. But
yes, and a TikTok post if you don't have time for the whole episode, I suppose. But
true. If you only have a minute.
Yes. Yeah, but St. Louis, this was just a huge deal. It was also the centennial of the Louisiana Purchase. So it was also called the Louisiana Purchase Exposition.
Nice.
But millions of people attended, 20 million people. It drew a lot of famous people. The president, Theodore Roosevelt, was there. A former president, Grover Cleveland, was also there and apparently kind of overshadowed Roosevelt at moments, which I thought was interesting. Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt, my favorite president.
Is he your favorite?
Yeah, I think I've definitively decided on that. Mostly just because of the taking a bullet while giving a speech thing. I just think that's cool.
Yeah. he did a lot of pretty cool stuff. But anyway, yeah, there were tons of famous people there. Helen Keller was there. Thomas Edison was rumored to be there. T.S. Eliot was there. Jack Daniels was there. I found, just tons of people. Like everyone wanted to be there.
Star-studded event, yeah.
Yeah. One kind of funny fact I learned was that this like fruit specialist was there, and he gave a lecture and said the immortal words, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's kind of ironic because, these fairs, we were celebrating new technology and new foods and everything. And he was talking about apples, but things like Dr. Pepper emerged during this fair. And it's claimed like the ice cream cone emerged, hamburgers, stuff like that. It was introduced for the first time, or people tried it for the first time alongside all this technology. I mean, it's just like, I feel like we should have a whole other like show on just the World's Fair.
They presented here, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe we can finally get to the bottom of what are all the flavors they put in Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, there you go. Mysteries. There's all sorts of stuff like that. Dr. Pepper inventions, the first personal automobile, early fax machines, early X-rays. It's just
a butter sculpture of Roosevelt. Yes. From what I'm glancing at on the outline here.
Everywhere you look, there was just this crazy stuff. There was that. There's an elephant made of prunes. There was a reenactment of the Boer War, which is important for later. But there was also like a really dark side of the 1904 World's Fair, because the United States had emerged as an imperial power, and imperialism was very much a theme at the World's Fair. There were human zoos with people taken from their homes, Filipinos. There was a pygmy from the Congo named Oda Benga who'd been bought in Africa and brought to the World's Fair. He later died by suicide.
Am I reading that note right? He was bought for a pound of salt and a bolt of cloth.
Yes. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Bad. I mean, it got even worse because they would bring these people together and sort of like force them to compete in these really dumb competitions like mudslinging and like climbing up a greased pole. And even at the time, people were like, this is like pretty racist and this is not shameful.
It's bad if people in early 1900s America are saying that's bad.
Right.
Yeah.
But all of this is to say that like this all was going on at the same time as the Olympics and like very much like overshadowed the Olympics. And the 1904 World's Fair was seen as this, a huge success and this, this new technology and famous people. This race was seen as a complete failure, an orgy of chaos, if I may.
Yeah. So was the Olympics at this time, was it just a marathon or was it still like a multi-event kind of thing like it is now?
I believe it was a multi-event. It wasn't just the marathon.
Okay.
No. Yeah, it was a really strange race from the start. For starters, some people had never even run a marathon before, which is, I mean, I don't know if you've ever run a marathon, and I haven't.
I've not.
Okay, but like it takes a lot of, it's like hard
I was gonna say,
for a reason.
People like train for marathon. Especially like now the Olympics, it's like you're training like hard for your whole life to do that.
Mm-hmm. This was,
but you're a runner and I'm not a runner, so
I'm a runner, but I don't think I would ever run a marathon.
Yeah, but you can attest to. I mean, running it on its own is also not easy to do for a long time.
Right.
I mean, it takes a lot out of you. Running is like a very like intense.
Definitely, which makes everything that happened in this race like even more strange.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So like there were people there. There were 10 Greek men. It was all men who had never run a marathon before. 2 of the men had come from the Boer War reenactment of the World's Fair to run in the marathon. I guess during the Boer War, they were messengers who'd run back and forth. So they could run. I mean, they were runners, but
they're tired.
Yeah. And I'm not sure they would have, this race was like 24 miles. They had not yet had a specific distance for a marathon. So this one was 24. But they'd never done that, I assume. And
sure, yeah.
So that was strange. There were some professional runners there, but even they were kind of like odd.
Oh, yeah. I'm just looking at Tom Hicks, who was a professional clown, allegedly.
Yes, allegedly.
Fred Lortz, a professional bricklayer who trained at night.
Yes.
Felix Carbajal?
Mm-hmm. This is like one of the most interesting characters of the whole thing because he was a mailman from Cuba and he raised money by running in Cuba and showing off his endurance. At one point, he even ran like the length of the island.
Wow.
And they gave him, he raised money and he came to the United States and he went to New Orleans and lost it all gambling. And then had to hitchhike to St. Louis for this marathon.
Man.
So that's, good job, Carbajal.
Yeah, wow.
Frank Pierce was also there. He was the first Native American to compete in the Olympics.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever even watch a marathon, everyone's sort of dressed the same.
Yeah.
They're wearing shoes, all of them. And in this case, the two men from the Boer War reenactment were not wearing shoes. Carbajal was wearing long pants and a long sleeve shirt and a hat. One of the other runners gave him scissors and so he could cut his pants into shorts.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is it just because I'm so bad at geography? St. Louis,
Missouri.
Where is Missouri?
Like in the South.
Okay, so it's still warm.
Yeah. I guess it's hot. I mean, it's August in Missouri.
Yeah, we're not talking like Minnesota.
No.
Weather.
No. It's hot. Okay. It's hot.
That's how bad I am at geography.
I mean, to top everything off, the guy who was in charge of the race, James E. Sullivan, wanted to experiment with purposeful dehydration, which meant that there was not going to be water provided along the race, except for once at mile 12. And
halfway through it.
That's a long way to run without water on a summer day in Missouri. So
I couldn't even finish mowing the front lawn without drinking water the other day because it was hot. That's crazy.
It was this idea that drinking and eating while exercising was really, really bad for you. So they just wanted to test it out and see.
Which is we know it's the exact opposite now.
Drinking water is good for you. Yeah. Especially when you're running in the heat. But anyway, all these men, 32 men lined up. And just after 3 p.m., the gun went off and things very quickly fell apart. I mean, one of the big reasons why it was like a disaster is they had horses ahead of the runners to clear the way and cars behind the runners to keep an eye on things. But they were running on this, dry road. All this dust was being kicked up. And the runners who were breathing heavily were inhaling dust as they were running.
From the horses.
Yeah.
And they had no water.
Fantastic. So one guy named John Garcia collapsed. He passed out. He was coughing up blood.
Oh, and my God.
He could have died. He was very close to death because he needed surgery. Dust just coated his esophagus and his stomach lining. He was just breathing it in as he was running.
Jeez.
So it was almost a fatality at the Olympics. Fortunately, someone found him. Carbajal, the Cuban mailman, it's so funny because when you watch marathons, everyone's so serious and they're running and there's cheering, I guess, but he was chatting with people as he was running. And at one point, some spectators were eating peaches and he was like, "Can I have a peach?" And they were like, "No." And he grabbed one and ran away. And at another point, he saw an apple orchard and he ate some apples.
Oh my.
And it might have been the peaches and it might have been the apples and it might have been the dust. I don't know. But he got horrible stomach cramps. So he had to lay down and take a nap. And then he finished fourth after all of that, which is amazing.
He took a nap mid-marathon.
Yeah, he did.
Fourth.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's pretty crazy.
You could write a movie about this guy.
This whole marathon, I think, could be,
Yeah.
I mean, other people dropped out of the race. 14 of the 32 eventually dropped out for various reasons, cramping, wrong turns.
You'd be better off just walking it.
Well, yeah, we'll get into something close to that. But
wow.
Tom Hicks, who we mentioned, he's the clown. He started begging his trainers for water, and they said, "No, you're not supposed to be having water." Sponged out his mouth, which sounds not satisfying at all when you're running in a really dusty course.
So to remove the moisture, they sponged it out as in dried it, or did they just squeeze a wet sponge in his mouth and go, "There you go, bud"?
I don't know, but it wasn't
That's such
satisfying.
Weird wording.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, regardless. But
eventually they gave him egg whites and strychnine, which is a rat poison in high doses, but in low doses is a stimulant, which is now prohibited in the Olympics. And that gave him an extra some energy. They eventually gave him some brandy. They were just kind of anything but water, I guess, was okay to give him.
Well, the brandy's not going to help.
You wouldn't think so.
That's going to dehydrate you so much.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever. They do us the guy with rat poison, so
I guess brandy could revive you a little. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, I guess there's sugar in it, so not sure.
all this was going on, and Fred Lors, the bricklayer who trained at night, he got really, really tired, and someone picked him up in a car, probably his trainer. And they just drove along for 11 miles. And then he was like, oh, I'll run the last mile. So he got out of the car and crossed the finish line. And everyone was really, really happy because he was an American, and they were like thrilled that an American had won. They were cheering, an American won, yay. But then as the president's daughter, Alice Roosevelt, was awarding him with a wreath and a medal, someone was like, no, this guy was in a car. Like, he cheated. He's not the winner. And he admitted that he'd done that. He said it was a joke. No one was amused by that joke.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good. Meanwhile, poor Hicks, who's been given brandy and rat poison and eggs, like,
right.
He hears that the race like isn't over and he still has a chance to win, but he's like dying. He's there was a quote I'll read. Race official said, over the last 2 miles of the road, Hicks was running mechanically like a well-oiled piece of machinery. His eyes were dull, lusterless. The ashen color of his face and skin had deepened. His arms appeared as weights well tied down. He could scarcely lift his legs, while his knees were almost stiff. So he was not doing great. He was like very much suffering. He was like begging to eat, begging to lie down. He started to hallucinate that the finish line was still 20 miles away. And his trainers were like, you can do it. He was just like...
That's the rat poison kicking in. Yeah. That's how you know it's working.
He was just like shuffling along, like hardly even running. Jeez. And they finally, his trainers like lifted him under the arms. And like, when you lift a dog like over water and their legs, that's what he was doing. His legs were just kind of like moving as they were carrying him.
Wow. But they counted it because he was still technically running.
Uh-huh. And he crossed the finish line.
Did he end up coming in first?
He did. Then? He was the winner because the other guy had cheated.
Wild.
I know.
Well, no wonder Carbajal was able to like finish fourth if they had to go through this whole like, oh, it's over, it's not over thing. He woke up and he's like, it's not over?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Everyone else had like dropped out or gone to the hospital or...
Yeah, what an unceremonious way to end your marathon, though.
Yeah. Well, he lost 8 pounds, Hicks, during the course of this race. Which is nuts.
Insane.
I know. He finished with the slowest time in Olympic history of 3 hours and 28 minutes, which is probably respectable for most marathon runners, I would think. But
yeah. I don't know. Let's look it up real quick. Average marathon time for men. It's like 4 hours and 21 minutes. So
that really wasn't that bad of a time. I mean, this race was really shorter. Not. It was like about 24, 25 miles, but
yeah, not that much shorter. And also, given that he was like a corpse at the end of it,
right? It's
really impressive.
Yes. He said, never in my life have I run such a tough course. An understatement. I added that. The terrific hills simply tear a man to pieces. So it's kind of nuts because after this race, I mean, to anyone looking like this clearly was a disaster. Like almost half the people dropped out during the race and the winner cheated. And then the next guy like could barely finish it.
Yeah, it had to literally be carried over the finish line.
Literally carried, hallucinating. Like that's not what you want to see at the end of a marathon. Yeah, they called it a man-killing event in the newspaper. The organizer, Sullivan, said a 25-mile run is asking too much of human endurance.
Well, we proved him wrong.
Yeah. Right. They're also, I mean, they all kind of had like weird lives after this too. Fred Lors was banned for life, but he was allowed to run the Boston Marathon the next year and he won fair and square.
He did not drive.
He did not drive that time. Hicks ran a few more races. I can't believe that because I feel like if I were him, I would never run ever again.
Me neither. I'd take my gold medal and be like, cool.
Bye.
Thanks.
Carbajal was supposed to run in the 1906 Athens Marathon, but he disappeared and was declared dead and then showed up in Havana the next year and like it's unclear what happened to him. But I
need someone to write a book or make a movie about this man. I want to know what happened during that year.
Yeah, right. He led a very colorful life, that guy.
Yeah.
So that was kind of it. And that was this disastrous, strange competition that almost ended marathons in the Olympics forever.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad they banned strychnine.
Yes.
Strychnine.
That was a good call. Yeah. Well,
yeah, probably.
I think so. It was funny, like, researching this because it was just like one thing after the other. It was like, oh, it's really dusty. And then all these people were like having these problems with cramping and wild dogs were chasing them off the road. And
oh, yeah. Yeah. Did you mention that part?
It was one of the guys from the Boer War. He was chased off the course by dogs. He finished 9th, though.
Why are there dogs on the
right?
It's just so poorly planned. Like, also not the time to like test the effects of dehydration on an athlete's performance.
Right. Yeah.
The only thing that can make that more funny is if they were like unveiling Gatorade at the World's Fair.
Yeah.
Because that would just be so funny. I know they didn't, but can you imagine being Hicks though, running this race, and then like someone hands you a Dr. Pepper right after, and you're like, what is this? And they're like, it's Dr. Pepper, it's new. Mm-hmm. Your mouth would just be like, that's probably the best thing anyone's ever tasted.
Your brain would explode. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be like, there's so many flavors in here. People would be like, some say like 48.
Yeah, especially since he was high on rat poisoning and brandy. And yeah, I think it'd be quite an experience.
Yeah. Get my man a Dr. Pepper.
Get my man a Dr. Pepper. Yeah, just wild.
Yeah. And then Carbajal ate an apple along the way.
Yeah.
Right. He ate a peach and an apple. That's a little bit ironic, too, given a doctor a doctor a day keeps the apple away. An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah. Yeah. I just really one thing after the other. It's just funny how more serious, I guess, running has become since then. Yeah.
To put like 10 people who just hadn't even run before.
Right.
In a marathon. Obviously, everyone's run.
Yeah.
A short distance.
Go run 24 miles. It should be easy. By the way, there's no water and it's really hot. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfathomable. But again, like, this is the time when they had human zoos. So
right.
We can't expect too much of them.
Man, it's amazing that no one died during this, I think. Really.
Yeah. I mean, they came close.
They did come close. I think a couple people came pretty close to dropping dead, which probably would have gotten the marathon struck from the Olympics for good. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
It is funny, too, just like how you were saying, just comparing and contrasting it with the World's Fair going on at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's so exciting and new. And, this is the first time anyone ever saw a wireless telephone or like the private automobile. And it's like, wow. And look, butter Teddy Roosevelt and real Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah,
right next to each other. It's uncanny. If that one was not made of butter, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like
meanwhile,
30 minutes that way, someone's just like crawling and like, please, water.
Yes. I know. It's really wild. And I feel like it's such a footnote to history, but what a crazy story. One thing a question that occurred to me while working through this stuff was like, why don't we do World's Fairs anymore? It's like,
I was wondering that too. And I didn't want to ask out of fear that maybe we still did do them.
Well, so the world does do them, but the U.S. no longer participates in them. Huh. Yeah. And they're not as elaborate as they used to be. They used to be such a big deal. And now, like the Space Needle is made for a World's Fair. The Eiffel Tower is made for a World's Fair. Like they were big deals. And now they're not so much. I mean, not in the States.
I mean, we're also interconnected now in like things like the World Fair was like where you announced big things.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, wireless telephone. Wow, I've never seen that before. Wow, Dr. Pepper, so many flavors.
Right. Yeah. All this new stuff.
Yeah. But now, like when new stuff comes out, like Apple just has their own event every June.
Right.
And they're like, hey, look, it's we made VR goggles so that you can have even more social dysfunction.
Yeah, or you just drop a new app like Threads. I think dropped yesterday.
Just on a Thursday.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And get 70 million people to sign up in a day.
Yeah. I guess back in the day, maybe you would have done that at the World's Fair, but now you don't need to anymore. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned like at the very top about how we just watch stuff on TV now with like the Olympics and whatnot, but this was a chance to kind of like see the world without having to leave your country.
Yeah, now we just go to Epcot.
Mm-hmm. I've never been to Epcot.
Me neither.
Oh.
I just thought it would land with someone out there who's like damn straight.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it is really interesting. It's something you kind of. It's like I can't even say I'm like nostalgic for it because like obviously I was born in 1996, so my whole life's been part of this like communication renaissance era. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like the exclusivity of these like really neat in-person events. Even in recent years though, more and more of these sorts of things have been getting canceled. Like they used to do E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo. Was like a yearly it was mostly for video games, but like all the big publishers have now pulled out of it because they just host their own events and show off their things on their own. Yeah, so that is like a very much like a thing of the past that I kind of wish we still had, because now the biggest in-person event you can go to is a Taylor Swift concert.
Right. That's true.
And like, what would you rather go to, right? Like the Taylor Swift concert, or like, be
honest, I think I'd rather go to a Taylor Swift concert. Well, I don't know, actually. I think it'd be pretty cool to go to a World's Fair and see all this stuff.
I mean, unless they're bringing out Butter Taylor Swift, I'm out.
They probably would. It's
New flavors of
day.
Dr. Pepper at the Taylor Swift Eras concert.
Yeah, definitely a lost age. And for some good reasons. I mean, you don't want to have another Olympic marathon like this one. So
speak for yourself. Yeah, there's just a lot of like bad decisions made one after another here.
Yeah. But
the dumbest one is, why would you have horses run in front of?
And why would you have no water?
Yeah, that's just
bad idea.
Foolish.
And maybe like monitor people as they're like getting into cars while they're supposed to be running might be a good idea as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's probably harder to keep track of that sort of thing because you didn't have cameras everywhere.
I guess so, but it seems like
people, but
yeah, I guess so. It's easier to cheat at a marathon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you could just like cut through a park and like shave 10 miles off,
right?
You know, like who's really looking? As long as you're kind of.
I think some races have like trackers on the runners, possibly.
Back then, though? I don't know.
No, not back then.
Okay, yeah.
Like now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And you only had 30 people running, so it's not like it's not like a marathon now where it's like a massive crowd of people.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like it should have been easier to keep tabs on these.
Yeah, true. Would it have even been fun to watch?
Probably not, because it was really hot and dusty. There's nothing to drink.
It's hot, it's dusty, and you're just kind of stood around in like one spot.
Yeah.
And then you see like a couple guys pass by bleeding while they're coughing, and you're like,
hallucinating.
Don't look, kids.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This might be maybe not an unpopular opinion, but I don't think that marathons are very fun to watch. I guess unless you know someone in it, and then you can like see them run by for 1 minute and then they're gone. Right.
I don't think they're fun to watch either.
Yeah. It's they're long. They're hours long. So
they're long. Yeah. I mean, that's something that like on TV might not be because they can keep up with the racers more. I'm thinking more like bike marathons.
It makes me think of speed walking, which I believe is an Olympic sport. It's so funny to watch.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's really funny. Oh, what a weird, like, can you imagine bragging? Like, yeah, I brought home the Olympic gold. It's like, oh, that's awesome. And what event? Speed walking.
So it's called race walking, but yeah, it's basically like speed walking. It's so funny to watch.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to watch a video of that now because that's so strange. Insane. That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. This article says, they said there are a few major differences between running and race walking beyond the speed. In race walking, one foot must always be in contact with the ground. So there you go. So you're like running, but like in a very like shuffling kind of way.
I mean, it looks like speed walking. It looks like what the old women in my neighborhood do.
It's like what Tom Hicks was doing as he was finishing this race, shuffling along.
Yeah, really. Well, they in Finland they do like hobby horse competitions.
What does that mean?
Like you think of like a horse competition, like a horse race, or like they like jump over things, but take the horse out and just put a hobby horse in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the exact same event, but no real horses.
What? That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, Finland has some weird
strange.
events. Hobby horse racing. They have they have a wife carrying competition.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Pictures of that.
Yeah, they just carry their wives through an obstacle course, and whoever wins gets like a keg of beer.
That's fun. The Finns are fun.
Yeah. Greatest country on earth. That's Angry Birds was made there.
Oh, was it?
When you when you graduate college, you get a top hat and a sword.
Really? Yo, that's cool. Huh. Finland is pretty cool. I'm a quarter Finnish,
This one's for the
so
Finns.
I claim that as my heritage.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of History Uncovered. Kind of a weird one, kind of a wacky one.
Super wacky.
Coming off of last week, too, especially.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed this new format we're doing. Longer episodes, a little more casual. But if you do like it, or if you really, really hate it, let us know. You can do that by contacting us at podcast@allthat'sinteresting.com if you want to send an email in. You have the phone number pulled up.
I do have the phone number. Yes, you can also call and leave a voicemail. The number is 929-526-3029. We might play it on the air.
Yeah.
It's not the right term, the air. It's like a radio term, but
yeah.
I don't know.
On the feed. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'd love to hear from people and what you think about the new format and everything. And if you know more facts about this Olympic marathon or others, love to hear from you.
Yeah. If you happen to know all the flavors that are in Dr. Pepper, let me know.
No cheating. Is that a secret, the Dr. Pepper thing?
I think it's a secret.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure when you were talking about it before, if it was like
But maybe someone can do what they did to that blood vase from Egypt, like kind of like reverse engineer Dr. Pepper.
I had to be like, wait, blood vase. Yes.
Yeah. Get to the bottom of this.
Yes. Someday someone will. In like 200 years, they'll find a bottle in the dirt and be like, oh, there's 43, 48 hammer flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm leaving in my time capsule.
There you go. Nice.
And a Dr. Pepper.
Full circle.
Yeah. If you want to dive more into any of these stories that we talk about on this podcast, we always have stuff up on allthat'sinteresting.com that corresponds with what we talk about here. Usually it's up there first, and then we kind of repurpose it over here. So yeah, check that out. There's plenty of stuff to read. We're updating it literally every single day. We do have a newsletter you can sign up for.
We do. You can sign up for it at allthat'sinteresting.com/sign up, or you can become a member at allthat'sinteresting.com/membership.
Yeah. And then, of course, we're on social media and stuff too. We're on TikTok at Real History Uncovered. Soon you'll be able to find us on Instagram, and we will update you with more information when we know what's going on with that.
Are we going to get threads?
I'd imagine so. It kind of comes with Instagram at this point.
Yeah. Someone told me that people are getting mad that if you download threads and then want to delete it, you have to delete your Instagram too.
Yeah, you can't just delete your Threads account. It's like they're connected.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't think that was that surprising because you have to sign up with Instagram.
Right, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
New technology. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, stay tuned for all that exciting stuff. What do we have coming up next? Next week, another kind of goofy, weird history tale.
Very
about
weird.
And it's about an exploding whale.
Yeah. For a second, I was like, exploding elephants, but that's not what it is. Exploding whales, yeah.
Oh my god.
That'd be probably worse.
Exploding elephants.
I don't know why my mind went there. Yeah, exploding whales. Or an exploding whale.
Whales.
A whale who exploded in Oregon, correct? Or?
Yes. Yeah. And when we say explode, I mean they blew it up with dynamite. Like way too much dynamite.
Oh, really? Oh, for some reason I thought it like blew up by itself.
There were a couple whales who did that. This one, no.
Okay.
it washed up dead on the beach, and they said, blast it back into the ocean.
Wow.
what was it? 20 cases of dynamite.
I have so many questions that I'll have to ask you during this the next episode.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, stay tuned. That's coming up next. And then after that, I think we're working on our series on different UFO sightings.
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar because History Happy Hour, I guess, won't be until the end of the month.
Yeah, and then in August, we'll have the UFO stuff coming
And then
out.
the UFO stuff. That's going to be fun.
I'm so stoked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be cool. We're going to expose the truth once and for all.
Get your tinfoil hats ready.
That's right. All right, great. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week about more fascinating, bizarre, strange topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Have a good night, everybody.
whatever time you're listening to this.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.